It was a Sunday morning unlike any other at Family Worship Center. The atmosphere was thick with emotion, the kind that only comes when a congregation is still mourning the loss of its beloved founder. The choir's last note faded into the air, and the room fell into a quiet stillness. Frances Swaggart slowly stepped toward the pulpit, her steps measured, her eyes scanning the thousands seated before her. She clutched a microphone in her right hand, and for a moment, the entire sanctuary seemed to hold its breath. "Church," she began, her voice calm but carrying the weight of decades. "We have been through the valley, we have cried, we have prayed, and we have stood together through one of the greatest losses we have ever faced." Her voice trembled slightly at the mention of Jimmy's passing, and a murmur rippled through the crowd. A few in the front rows dabbed at their eyes. Frances continued, "For more than 50 years, Jimmy was the shepherd of this ministry. But God, in his wisdom, saw fit to call him home. And now a decision has to be made, not just for today, but for the future, for the generations yet to come." She paused, letting the silence fill the space, her gaze locking on the man seated a few feet away. Donnie Swaggart, her only son, sat with his head bowed, visibly moved. Frances took a deep breath. "I have prayed over this day. I have sought the Lord with tears in my eyes, and today I want to speak from my heart, both as a leader and as a mother." Her voice grew stronger. "Church, Donnie is my son, but he is more than that. He is my confidant. He has walked with me through the darkest nights and stood beside me in the fiercest battles. I have watched him fight for this ministry, for this pulpit, for the souls God has called us to reach." A few people in the audience began nodding in agreement, some even whispering, "Amen." Then Frances leaned closer to the microphone, her eyes glistening. "And so, today, before all of you, I want to say these words. Donnie, you are my everything." The room erupted in applause, some rising to their feet. Donnie lifted his head, his eyes wet, his lips trembling. Frances didn't stop. "You are my son, my strength, and my choice to carry this ministry forward. From this moment on, I am placing the mantle of leadership upon you, not because you are perfect, but because I know your heart. And I know God's hand is upon you." Tears streamed down Donnie's face as he stood, almost in disbelief. Frances reached out her hand, and he walked to the pulpit. The two embraced tightly, and the crowd rose in a standing ovation that seemed to go on forever. Frances pulled back just enough to speak into the mic again. "Church, I want you to support him. I want you to pray for him. This is not just my decision, it is my calling as a mother and as a servant of the Lord. Donnie will lead us into the next chapter." The choir began to softly play through it all in the background, the organ filling the room as Frances stepped aside, giving Donnie the microphone. His voice was shaky, but his words were clear. "Mama, you have no idea what this means to me. I promise you, and I promise this church, I will not let this calling fall. I will preach the gospel. I will stand for what is right, and I will honor the legacy of my father." The congregation roared with applause again, and in that moment, it was as if the grief of Jimmy's passing was met with a new wave of hope. The standing ovation inside Family Worship Center felt like it would never end. People clapped through their tears, some lifting their hands toward heaven, others just staring at the pulpit in awe of what they had just witnessed. The sound of hundreds of voices saying "Amen" at once filled the air like a wave of faith rolling across the sanctuary. Frances didn't sit back down immediately. She stood next to Donnie, one hand still resting on his shoulder, almost as if to silently declare to everyone watching, both in the building and through the television broadcast, that she was not only endorsing him, but guarding him. SonLife TV's cameras captured every moment. Camera 1 stayed locked on Frances's face, her eyes still glistening with emotion. Camera 2 cut to Donnie's trembling lips and moist eyes. Camera 3 panned across the audience. Elderly couples holding hands tightly, young adults wiping their faces, and ushers standing in the aisles with solemn expressions. In the control room upstairs, the broadcast director whispered to the crew, "Stay on them. Don't cut away. This is history." The music in the background swelled softly. The choir, without any official cue, began singing the chorus of "I'll Never Be Lonely Again." It wasn't scripted, but in that moment it felt like the perfect soundtrack to a passing of the torch. Donnie took a deep breath and leaned toward the mic. "Church family, I don't deserve the love you've shown me today. And I certainly didn't expect my mama to say what she just said." His voice cracked, and the crowd encouraged him with shouts of, "That's all right, Brother Donnie, and we love you." He glanced sideways at Frances, almost as if to confirm she truly meant it. She smiled warmly, nodding. "Some of you have walked with me through my highest moments, and some of you have seen me in my lowest," Donnie continued. "But through it all, I have never stopped loving this church, this ministry, and the God we serve." Someone in the third row shouted, "Preach it!" and the room chuckled softly before settling back into reverent silence. Frances stepped closer to the microphone again. "Let me tell you something," she said firmly. "When Jimmy was alive, he always told me, 'Frances, one day you're going to have to make decisions without me.' I never wanted that day to come, but it's here. And today, I make this decision, not for popularity, not for politics, but because I know my son's heart." In the front row, Gabriel Swaggart sat with his arms folded, his expression unreadable. Jill glanced at him briefly, then turned her eyes back to the pulpit, clapping along with the rest of the congregation. "I'm not stepping away," Frances clarified. "I will still be here. But I want you all to understand, Donnie will be the one carrying the vision. He will be the one making the calls, and he will be the one leading us into the next chapter." From the back of the sanctuary, a man's voice rang out, "We're with you, Sister Frances," and it sent another ripple of applause through the crowd. At that exact moment, a SonLife cameraman, stationed near the side aisle, zoomed in tight on Frances' lips as she looked at Donnie and whispered, "You're my everything." The words weren't meant for the mic, but the audio caught it clearly. That small, intimate sentence would later become the headline across countless posts, tweets, and video thumbnails. Outside the sanctuary while the service continued, phones in the lobby began buzzing like wildfire. Clips of Frances's words were already being uploaded to Facebook groups, Instagram reels, and YouTube channels. The caption breaking, "Frances Swaggart chooses Donnie as her successor," appeared within minutes. One video, shot by a church member from their seat, showed Frances's trembling voice and Donnie's tearful face. Within an hour, it had over 50,000 views. Supporters were commenting things like, "Finally, the right choice. Jimmy would be proud. This is the unity we needed." But there were also critics. "Why not Gabriel? This is a family empire, not a church. Power moves right after Jimmy's death? Suspicious." The division was starting, even before the service had ended. Back inside, Donnie raised his hands toward the congregation. "I can't promise I'll do everything right," he said honestly. "But I can promise you this. I will keep preaching the message of the cross until my last breath." The room erupted in applause again. Frances stepped back, letting him have the moment, though her eyes never left him. Upstairs in the broadcast booth, the producer leaned over to the director. "We're gonna need to rerun this clip for tonight's rebroadcast. People will want to see it again." By the time the closing prayer was said and the choir sang the final hymn, it was clear this was more than just another Sunday service. This was the official beginning of the Donnie Swaggart era. While the congregation slowly filtered out, Frances, Donnie, and a select handful of senior staff slipped through the side corridor, leading to the pastor's office wing. The cameras didn't follow them here. This was off limits to anyone without clearance. Behind the closed doors, the celebratory energy shifted into something more focused, almost businesslike. Frances sank into the plush chair behind Jimmy's old desk, the very same spot where for decades he had reviewed sermons, made calls to partners, and signed ministry decisions. Donnie stood beside her, still visibly moved, his ties slightly loosened. Gabriel entered quietly, closing the door behind him. His face was calm, but his eyes told a different story. "Mother," Gabriel began, "I just want to be sure we're clear on what this means moving forward. Are you saying Donnie will be the—" He paused, the word leader catching in his throat. Frances leaned forward. "Yes, Gabe, that's exactly what I'm saying. You have a place here, an important one. But Donnie is the one I'm appointing to carry the mantle. It's not just about preaching, it's about protecting this ministry. And I know he will." Gabriel nodded slowly, though the tightness in his jaw betrayed his true feelings. "Understood," he said, before excusing himself from the room. Donnie glanced at the closed door after his nephew left, then looked back at his mother. "You know this is going to cause waves, Mama." Frances smiled faintly, the way a seasoned general might when walking into a battle she's fought before. "Let the waves come. We'll still be standing when they pass." The next day, the staff meeting at JSM headquarters was standing room only. Every department head had shown up early, wanting to hear directly from Frances and Donnie about what this transition meant. Frances opened the meeting with the same authority she'd always had. "There will be no confusion here," she said firmly. "Donnie will be stepping into the lead role for ministry operations. You will follow his direction as you have followed mine. My voice will still be here, but his will be the one steering the ship day to day." One staff member, clearly nervous, raised a hand. "Does this mean changes are coming to programming or staff?" Donnie jumped in before Frances could answer. "Not immediately.